Okay, listeners, welcome to the Road to Insanity podcast, where a revolving door of individuals discuss topics, very generically. Today we have myself, Vincent, aka Lyricstrom.
My name is Cameron.
Nathan.
Jade, you go.
Hi, my name is Nathan. Oh, wait. Am I doing it right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, keep going, your name, aka Underdesto, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no. I'm Jaden. Gelgraph. Whatever I get called at this point.
And lastly,
My name is Tucker, also known as Zato on the internet.
and today we'll be discussing what our utopian society is, the nature of whether cats are better than dogs, and are video games an art form. Okay, so let's hop right into it. So, what are utopian societies? So basically, we're going to be discussing what our ideal form of society is, all of the rules around it, and whether it would kill us all. So, you guys can begin.
Alright, sure. I'll go first.
Yeah. Pressure's on.
I was thinking along the lines of having it a Hunger Games style where you have different sections doing different things, and they don't really have a lot of communication with each other. Now, the important thing is there's not a death game, because I feel like that's not the best thing for a society.
No, I think a utopia should not, in fact, have a
It's
death game.
Utopia.
Yeah, no, we're looking at actual utopia, not America.
They all have like their own distinct like districts, which they do specific things, and they have communication with each other, and they all have a shared pool of knowledge called the internet. And they can travel back and forth between these places if they wish to see relatives, but it's kind of like along the lines of what's that one, Divergent, where it's like they have these different factions that you can choose when you're a young person, and you go along those sort of lines. Now, would this kill everyone? Probably. I don't even see a problem with it, and it's probably going to kill everyone.
There'd probably be a lot of conflict between the different districts. The whole unity of each one would probably end up making them all feel like they're in competition with the others, even if that wasn't a death game. Like, just in competition.
Another point of that is that I would want it to have really small populations, maybe like a city for each of these, and then just have a ton of them, and none of them know that there's more than this.
Well, are you accompanying
single
just
thing.
the United States, or are you accompanying the rest of the world?
Oh, the world, but it's like, see, there's a city's worth of population, and it's split into however many districts, and then there's one of those, and they believe that they are the only people in the world, and then you have 1 billion of those.
But you have
And
the
they
internet.
Yes, you have the internet, but they only believe that it's from
Are you just wanting the efficiency of a hive mind insect tribe?
Pretty much, yeah.
Constructing shit?
Yeah.
But okay, so I guess I'll begin talking
Oh,
about
yeah.
mine.
Go
So
ahead.
what the value of a society and everything is that it protects people and allows them to enjoy life and relax on the beach, chillax and all cool and stuff. But if they're living mindlessly droning inside of some hive mind city, right? I don't really think they're going to be getting the fullest amount of joy.
That's a utopia. I don't know what you're talking about.
That's a utopia for the people who have the knowledge above them, not for the
Yeah.
people
Yeah,
below.
that's like a capitalist, factory owner utopia. It's I have this entire city full of fucking mindless workers to produce my gloves. Wow, cool.
I think it's amoral to have people living in societies where they don't think that there are other societies. I think it's dystopian to...
I think it's amoral to hold back knowledge in general.
Exactly. It's dystopian.
Yeah, no,
to me.
that's the point. Is that I was going first because mine is terrible.
That's not utopian.
Exactly.
If it's terrible.
It's
utopia.
ideal in some situations for some.
It's ideal if you have, a wallet as hungry as Bill Gates, maybe.
Cameras apparently. Okay, good job, Cameron. I commend you for your valiant effort.
No one else does, but yes,
No,
good
yeah.
job.
All right, well, fine, Jaden. What's yours, huh? Punk, wanna go?
Literally anything but that.
All right.
Okay, I'll go with mine. All right. So imagine a future in which all capitalist society has declined. In a post-scarcity future, right? And there's a satellite in the sky, right, hanging about, force of gravity tying it down. and you walk inside the satellite from your cerebral space palace, right? And you see there's a bunch of jars about. There's a big brain in
God,
the center,
no.
and all the jars are hooked up.
We
right?
talked about this,
So-
dude.
Is this just like mind flayers? Are you okay?
No, we wish it
No,
was
no.
Mind
Let
Flayer.
me continue with the details of this. So my utopian society, a bit spooky,
bad.
honestly. It's like a creepypasta.
Like horrifying.
And yeah,
How is that joy?
It's actually kind of similar to Cameron's in a few ways, right?
Yeah, it's wrong.
You look at the brains, you're like, huh, what's going on Earth? You see, there's only like robots on Earth, and they have like massive vats of like cells and cultures.
This is just
that they're-
Wall-E.
That they're mining resources from, and they're sending it up to this big satellite. There's a space elevator that comes down. All the resources come up, right? And all the humans that exist, there's probably only like a couple 100,000, are on the satellite, and all of their brains are hooked up into a large network that allows them to simulate a reality. So there's input and output into these brains, and they all live inside of these virtual realities that are
Matrix.
rendered by this giant big brain. It's a matrix, yeah, basically. But they do have control, so all the brains in it know they're in simulations, right?
Do you have to be a brain in a jar?
Yes. I'll go over the caveats of the society in a moment. But so they all live brains in jars. They have input and output, and they get to pick what simulated environment they want. So it's an entire reality rendered individually for each one of them based off the power of this big, thick brain computer that's in the center of the satellite. Probably occupies like 80% of the space in the satellite. Brains are only like by like 10%, and another 10% is like food processing from the drones. And there's probably like 5% of the population is like administrators, who they don't actually have the computer to like power to take over like the network because they might be bad boys, which I'll get to how malice is handled by the AI computer in the center. However, these administrators, they all group together, and through democracy, they decide like if there's any changes needs to the drone plans, like is resource throughput going, any errors to fix. There's also like a proton net around the satellite, which just disintegrates anything that comes to it. So if like an asteroid comes by, or there's another satellite that's like from the remnants of previous human civilization, so that's cool. But so let's say, for example, a human brain in a jar is a bad boy. He wants to somehow harm other brains, or he has some sort of psychological issue. In this postmodern scarcity society, neurology has advanced pretty significantly, and so the AI VR brain jar in the middle reads the brain waves of the lad and is like, oh, he's not a very good boy. And it comes up with a psychiatric plan to basically put them in a simulated reality which will teach them the morals or lessons needed to achieve real rehabilitation. So basically, it can take any malicious or maligned psyche and attempt to align it forcefully by putting it in a reality in which it learns things. Even if the brain's like completely like sociopathic or psychopathic, it can forcefully put them in a situation in which it at least is reinforced to hold certain morals, because it can go over 100 years, because these brains in jars are being pumped full of nutrients, preservatives. They're alive, and if they get to the point where they're degenerating, portions of the brain can be replaced artificially. Obviously, this has to be like organic cells, but like homegrown organic cells can be like
Stem cell stuff.
cut in. Yeah, I mean, you might get like ship this list or whatever. Like, is brain still brain if synthetic brain replaces it? Maybe, but yeah. Of course, you may think, oh, that's a bit authoritarian, bit Orwellian or whatever. Yeah, it kind of is. But I think if it was achieved ideally, it'd work pretty well. But otherwise, you might have your brain power harvested to fucking mine gold
everything
on
works pretty
RuneScape.
well when you're at no power to change the system.
Yeah, this literally just sounds like the Matrix combined with Wall-E.
Sounds horrifying.
It sounds like the Matrix if it was made to not be bad. And also sustainable.
Well, if everybody's a jar, then how is everything regulated and power anything.
The
Updated.
drones provide the
Crime
raw
is severely
resources.
cut down on your.
When you physically have no body to
Like,
commit
what
crimes.
happens when you run out of power? What happens when...
The drones are like autonomous. They gather resources. They charge themselves.
So
They
I
send the
assume
resources
you
up,
also have like a system in place if like the lower class, say solar waves hit and it caused a blackout. Always a possibility.
Yeah, there'd be a backup generator, shit like that.
Keep so 30% of your population just does
Probably
instantly die.
700 backup generators if it's a utopia.
Yeah. Yeah, because, I mean, you're assuming, like, I said there's, like, very little population left on Earth, so there might be, like, a few, like, primitive tribes or something, but basically the entire resources of Earth, and whatever planets this post-scarcity utopian society has access to, are being used to power this big, thick satellite in orbit around Earth. But, that's my personal ideal society. You guys can counter me. Or tell me how much I'm a fucking moron.
I mean, you just
You know?
are just because you're you. But
Yeah. I mean, discrediting the fact that my existence inherently is retarded. You could provide some other evidence to back that.
I just feel like there's no good society where the people have to entrust their power to autonomous machines.
I think the only good society is that, to be entirely honest. I think...
That's if you believe the worst of people, though. And I'm an idiotic pessimist, or optimist.
I'll let you
an
guys go,
optimist?
but as soon as I'm gonna come back at the end.
Please
and
don't.
I have a
yeah, stop.
Okay. One of you guys can go. Go right ahead.
I believe that leaves it on to you
Jaden.
now, Tucker.
You haven't said anything yet.
Neither of you.
You're right.
The fucking stalemate. Of the century.
The stalemate of the two people who
Korean.
don't want to be judged for their opinions.
Well, I personally don't think that there can really be a utopian society.
Bad answer.
Because I mean, that's just how I feel. Because
Yeah,
any
let the
utopian
contrarian speak.
society, at least to some extent, will be a dystopian society to some.
If it has any part
And-
dystopia, it's automatically not a utopia.
Correct. And there is no perfection. At least, not to me. You'd have to have a perfect or near perfect human or humanity to be able to successfully pull off such a feat, in the sense that is completely impossible, at least for our current understanding of what we can possibly achieve. I don't think that it is possible, at least not even to any conceivable level. But if I had to go with like whatever my ideal is just kind of like if everybody was fucking happy with each other. But to be honest, that's never gonna happen. So, shrug.
I
don't know.
think that's kind of an interesting point, though. Like the rule of many is always gonna isolate some minority, right? Like for
Mhm.
example, if all the world was a galaxy brain like me and wanted to be jars in the sky, but you guys were still there, like I don't know, I don't really want to embrace the transhumanist future that's on the horizon. I want to sit here on Earth with my little spear hunting rabbits. I like that. That's the life for me. Then
What was
my...
it about not insulting each other we had?
I'm not.
Oh, I'm not insulting you, I'm just comparing you to a literal troglodyte.
Yeah.
To me, the perfect utopia is some sort of utopia that everybody has their own utopia. But at the same time, it needs to be reality, because to me,
Yeah.
there is less value in a simulated reality, even if it is one of your ideal.
Like, for me, I had already assumed that, like, it's going to be impossible to make a utopia. And so I gave it a go that's already been kind of done before, I guess. That's explicitly
I mean, I'm
a
sure everything
dystopia.
we're doing. I'm sure that everything we're doing is like been done before. But
Yeah.
Everything's
like, okay,
derivative,
here,
yeah.
imagine this. I've got the perfect utopia for you. Ready? Communism. I rest my case.
So
Well, I mean, if there were perfect
Dun.
people, that would unfortunately be true.
But so
I guess
so,
fortunately.
Yeah.
So would capitalism, though. If capitalism had perfect people, it'd be, perfect. 'Cause
Any
that's-
system would be
ex-
perfect.
Exactly.
By that define. But capitalism wouldn't be just capitalism because it's only based on an economic system, not just a.
So if we're going by that, then what if the perfect utopian society was one that somehow took our imperfections and used that as a derivation to decide what things were, if that makes any sense?
That's kind of what capitalism's supposed to be, because it's supposed to use our inherent like greed and desire for wealth to grow the economy and society and give people opportunities to, gain food through working and stuff like that. But unfortunately, whenever you get thick capitalism, you get a lot of people with a lot of money, and more money makes more money, and so wealth and power centralizes towards one side of the power spectrum.
All right,
Yeah.
getting away from economics.
And then you can't really have a good system like that when there's also people that are able to change the system at their own whims. But at the same time, you can't keep it the same, because if it's the same, then everybody's going to get complacent, or there'll be people who want to change it, and then that'll probably lead to some kind of revolt. Anyway, moving on, we've heard everybody but Jaden.
Well, real quick, I think that the perfect society isn't a society. It's just like an individual who is happy. As long as an individual is happy, then it's just a utopia for them. And so if there's no other people, it can't be a dystopia, right?
So you want to be like Walden,
odd one.
living in the woods.
Yeah.
That's only mostly terrifying. If everyone else is dead, it's my utopia.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not a utopian society, it's a utopian person.
Yeah, Walden is a Chad. I think we all got like a little 50 by 50 little meter patch of woods to ourselves. Got our little log cabin, a little fishing pond. That'd be pretty aesthetic as well.
The point that I think needs to be made here is that no longer is a society.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
So in that way, are we saying that society itself is dystopian?
Anarcho-capitalism for the win!
Alright, Jaden. You're the last one up.
Okay. Yeah, it wouldn't really be a society, and you're kind of right. I think, a society is like a covenant between people to govern themselves and to make sure people don't murder each other and steal from each other.
Yeah, but if there is no each other, then you don't have to worry about it.
We require society. We can't just sort of live on our own because we'll get lonely. We need other people.
You're kind of right. Society is inherently kind of conflict-oriented.
But it's also necessary for our survival.
I have a society really fucked up.
Okay,
Great.
lay it on us, Nathan.
Totalitarian. There is one dictator. You assassinate or they go missing every other leader. You take control of the world. Whether it's through violent conflict, whether you have to go through and annex everything, you now control the world. You take out anyone who could go for revenge, any politicians like that. And you keep the world, you control media. You keep them where you want to keep them. And we haven't addressed, it's a utopia in the sense that you control the world, so the violence, you can stop as much violence as you want. You can make people disappear.
That's not how that works.
That's not
This is dystopia.
Okay.
Also,
You clearing the violence problem. You now
Okay,
control
brother,
the.
chill.
You have a global market, so you don't have to worry about trade as much because you're trading with yourself. You can control where everything goes. You're a little puppet master, and then you have to figure out the problem of we're approaching very quickly the problem of having too many people on Earth, not enough to feed them.
So you're on turn 2000 in Civ 5, and you're like, my population's too big, they're so unhappy, what am I gonna do? And then your solution comes in, Nathan.
What happens is you start just slowly taking out the less than. You start culling the
Oh my.
lower intellect people, the people, or putting them,
Nathan,
away.
Nathan, this is
I
supposed
really
to be
liked the
Utopia?
part where we were avoiding
Yeah.
super controversy.
Fucking genocide!
so what you're saying, Nathan, is that your utopia
Your utopia does not involve any different, like, any scientific advancement in the least that could solve these problems.
No, scientific advancement continues, but you reposition it because now you control everything. So you can
like someone who's a
reposition military
bad
budget. You don't need as much of a military budget because if you're controlling everything, it's either people will learn eventually. Oh, maybe we shouldn't revolt.
Okay.
You know, Jerry's been
I ask a
gone for a
question?
few. Yes.
Why do you need to cull people to make ends meet when you can just divert all your science to solving these problems?
Okay. Even if we did, we still are going to reach very rapidly a food issue, a resource issue.
We just become
aren't.
space marines or something.
So,
America alone discards enough food to feed most of the hungry population of the world as it is.
Yes.
You could, Nathan, listen to me here, all right? What you do is you're like, hey, anybody has more than 2 kids is wrong. Sweet, cool, and then you're done. And look at that. That's
so
replacement
China?
rate. Yeah,
Also
no,
China.
just like
yeah, so
replacement
I
rate.
think what Nathan's trying to say isn't necessarily that you genocide. It's just like that
Cut that
with
out.
the rule of one, with the power of having one guy at the helm of the entire world as God King Emperor, that if society was going down the drain, that one man could quickly fix it with his own initiative, right? That he wouldn't have to worry about societal expectations, all that shit. That one dude could fix it. I think he's saying that the flexibility and unity that you gain from one
I think
dude.
he's saying that he's played SimCity enough times and lost to realize that if he just had unlimited funds, he could do what he wants.
It'd be easy money.
Cull any problems that come up. There's a revolution in fucking Iran. There for the.
You don't have a military anymore. You just said so.
I said you don't need as big of a military. You don't need to
Yeah,
focus so
which
much
is-
of the
which you don't need
funds
to
there,
reinforce
so you
borders.
can, yeah, and you can turn those funds then into different projects, science projects. You don't have to worry about nuclear destruction anymore.
Science for what?
Science for space travel, agriculture, and these problems. But eventually, even if we focus all of our budget on agriculture and how to fix the world hunger problem, we wouldn't completely solve it. It would keep growing expectation-wise. So we either implement a limit to how many children you can have, so probably 2 children, and then, and it's fucked up, but if we're reaching a world, then you might have to separate the 2 classes of people of intelligence. And you have your high, hear me out. You keep the people with the higher levels of intelligence, higher IQs, and you push them towards scientific
And you
endeavors.
murder-
And you perform eugenics.
And
but-
you murder
but
the
you
others.
keep the lower
What?
half.
Can we cut all of these audio from
Is
this?
that we need to not have
them,
Nathan
you
back.
do give
Yeah,
them an
please.
opportunity to shine
I am gonna compress this a little bit, but
the work class.
yeah,
Because we
okay.
already have those 2 systems set up.
Why would you build a...
Nathan, I think we've got your perspective.
Why did
on
your
the issue.
utopia involve creating class conflict? Based on genetics, especially.
I think what he did, he read 1984.
No,
was
I
like,
think
I,
I
fix
get
that.
what Nathan's saying, but like maybe don't go that extreme. That's my opinion. Okay, so we got to get the last perspective on this issue, which would be, Jaden.
And that was Jaden's. Cool.
I was.
I'm sorry,
cut
I
it
had
all
to
out
mute my
'cause
mic.
it was even
There-
worse than
there-
Nathan's.
I had to mute my microphone. Thank you very much.
Fair enough. Go right ahead then.
To deal with external sources. And I'll be back in another 30 seconds. Because
If
another
Alexa was
external
playing
source just
Destiny,
came
though.
prancing into my room.
Oh, dude, that's hot.
The external source
Hello.
is four-legged. It's
external
not going to
source.
understand you.
Tell you.
Oh, dude, that actually really syncs well with our next
Damn it.
topic, which is.
And yeah, in our next topic, if we
I'm
can-
lubricating the audience up for it.
We
Don't
can
worry.
skip Jaden.
Yeah, guys.
No.
Don't skip just yet. This like
Yeah,
a creature may not be.
Who knows? Jaden might keep an antelope under his bed that he pulls out occasionally.
Antelope.
Why?
The hell?
Why antelope?
Dude, like those boys,
Why
like
not
you ever
antelope?
you ever
Okay.
wanted like a nice controller stand while you're doing your gaming? You put on the little horns or whatever.
What have I walked into?
We're talking about how you hide an antelope under your bed.
You have to feed.
Okay,
you have to keep the thing alive.
Okay, sweet. So Jin,
Just
what is
all
your?
you gotta do is one up Nathan. The audience will love you. That's all. That's all they care about at this point.
Okay,
Yeah.
here's my utopian society to one-up Nathan. Nobody has to die. Yay! Cheering! Edit in some cheering for me.
Wow, Jaden. Good moves. Keep it up.
Hey,
damn, you
everybody
really-
wins.
So what you're
No,
saying?
okay, my utopian society that's a joke to one up Nathan. My utopian society is kind of not necessarily like, okay, this sounds real bad coming off. It's not communism, okay? Because there's no money involved. There's no need for money. Because, like, I hated my job at fast food with a passion. Because it was not worth minimum wage. For at least not for how much I was doing back there. I know some jobs that are minimum wage, yeah, that's about all you deserve for doing as little as you're doing. But I ran, like, my entire section of the store. I ran the entire shake, dishes, trash, all that stuff in my place. But if I just had to do that to do my part for society, like run an entire area, I wouldn't care. I would do it. It wouldn't make a difference. If people would just do jobs to run their part of society and everything came free to everyone, that'd be utopian to me. Because, like,
Is communism?
it's kind of communism, but there's no equal pay. You don't have to
So
go do certain things.
I guess we should add a little bit of a preface, right? Like, so we live in the South. Lower minimum wage here, pretty fucking low. So not really the best for that. Also, to address Jaden's point, I think money is kind of a necessity, even like in a perfect communist society, which a socialist person like myself would be happy to engage in. You still need money, like because people want freedom of expression.
There's no need for money here because everything's free. People just make things to do their part. Society pretty much would be the way it is here in America almost, but we just do things for free, and that means
so
all the money we
different, though.
Just make
don't
everything a
make
rental.
suddenly is unnecessary anyways because we just go out and pick up whatever we wanted in the first place.
But some people are gonna be greedy.
Yeah, there would be limits set on those kinds of things though.
Okay, so you're saying you'd have an artificial currency like
No, there's no
credits.
credits. There's just
but
like
every-
you have an account, and if you purchase like 70 BMWs, you can't have that.
Oh, you have like a local administrator. Okay, but that kind of runs into like corruption. Like, what if a dude's like, well, this guy is the doctor. You know, he saved like 80 million lives. He can have 70 BMWs if he wants. You know.
He can't have 70 BMWs though. Like, it's not just a merit-based system.
Yeah, but-
it's just you do your part.
But
You're allowed to participate.
So I guess you're saying there's gonna be
That's
like
what-
there's gonna be
yeah.
people who audit and make sure there's no
Yeah,
corruption.
there'd have to be a whole
Okay.
system to it. Most of the entire
yeah,
like,
just checks and
the-
balances.
the entire
Checks and
of the
balances.
revenue system and people who monitor money and all those kinds of things would now be set on auditing and checking people to make sure that they are actually contributing at all.
Like the IRS and the FBI would merge into
Yeah.
like one super
Kind
organization
of, yeah.
to make sure.
And we don't need to check your personal life to monitor
Yeah,
any of that, because it'd just be whether or not are you doing the job you already were gonna do for money anyways.
So I don't mean to rain on your parade, but this is literally communism. To be entirely honest, the only difference is that you're saying there's no money at all.
Yeah, but like
So it's true. It's
we-
actual.
in
Communism,
literally any
as opposed to,
utopian
like,
society,
Stalinism.
Tucker was right. We have to assume the people are gonna be perfect, or that the system that's keeping them in check is going
Perfect.
to be
Yeah.
perfect or near enough to
Yeah.
perfect. Even in yours,
Perfect.
AI are not intelligent enough to morally check people. And it would take a lot of work for them to be, because morals are
Yeah, it would
subjective.
take a lot of development, and maybe the developers would be corrupt.
Yeah,
after.
so like everyone's utopia has problems. Mine has obvious problems.
Mine clearly has problems.
Yours is just not utopian.
Yeah, you missed
I mean,
fucking genocide.
The thing is
yeah.
with yours, Nathan, that I wanted to say, but I didn't want to interrupt too hard, is I know I pointed out that we already make enough food to cure most of the world's hunger, just here in America alone. But that's like with the limits we impose on farmers as well. Farmers don't pump out as much as they should, or as much as they could, I should say. They are literally paid to get rid of some of their crops if they make too much.
A better change to that would be
To keep the market, like, in check. Otherwise, it'd be like, oh, all food is now like a penny for a burger. If they just pumped out as much food as
But
they
I mean,
could.
if you control the system of currency, then you can do that by reworking
we
the
can,
currency.
yeah. So to summarize, since you guys have now skipped forward to this point, we discussed utopian societies. Everyone had some pretty interesting points. Nathan's was interesting in a different way.
Except Nathan,
Um,
all right.
He wanted genocide and eugenics and culling. You know, the basic stuff that any
The thing is,
totalitarian
kind
dictator
of
would
leaning
want.
towards Cameron's for a time.
No.
Oh no, mine's
Yeah,
bad.
but our next
Like-
topic is whether cats are better than dogs. What is the master race of domesticated human ally
I hope
animals?
this topic lasts
Uh,
like 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Same.
It's. I have some strong opinions
I-
about this, so you guys can go
So
first.
far.
So very quickly, I would like to just point out. Please
Yeah.
watch
I
Kirzu's,
am gonna reference
we're
that video.
plugging
We're
in.
ranking
Great.
What do you
system.
mean you're plugging
So-
it?
Yeah,
He's a
yeah.
good YouTuber.
Yeah, I am because he's a good. Yeah, because this is going to inform a lot of what I have to say, but it's going to be, I think personally, dogs are way better than cats. I've owned 2 dogs and 2 cats, and I loved both of them, both of the animals, but the dogs were just so much more like active with me, and especially as a young kid, I really needed that. And when I got older, the cats just, like, hey, I hate you. And so I just didn't interact with them as much. I fed them and did all what I needed to do, but it's just like there wasn't as much interaction. It was like I was their, I was their holder rather than I was their
Yeah.
compatriot. That's all I have to say.
Okay.
You can go first, Tucker. I'll
All right.
hold my opinions.
My opinion of dogs and cats, being an individual who has had 2 dogs and 8 cats, I have to say, dogs are better companions. In general, they do way more than cats do. Cats sometimes are, like, if you find the right cat, you can have a very, very affectionate and loving cat that can be a great companion. But at the same time, they're not going to be as active and as capable of doing, like, action as dogs are, because we specifically have bred dogs to be, able to do things like herding or hunting and all of that. Cats, we just bred cats to be sitting around lumps, and that's if we bred them. So,
Well, I mean, they are good at hunting
yes,
mice.
tiny
and birds.
animals.
Pest
To be-
control.
Dogs can be great at hunting those and foxes and other things in, like, forests. I can't say I've ever done that, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
My opinion on it is that I've owned 4 dogs, 5 cats now, I believe, and we used to run an animal shelter, or a small animal, basically daycare for animals. And I found that while cats can be affectionate, most of the time they're either not that they're intelligent, but they're intelligent when they want things. They're kind of just crafty little creatures, and they're generally assholes. They don't
Cats
have
are
much purpose in a
independent.
society. If you think about it, if society collapsed right now, which would be better? A cat that most cats forget who you are very quickly if you're not around.
I have actually evidence to the contrary. My cats have remembered me before for lengthy periods.
Or but are your cats nice and
No, not necessarily.
I actually, to support Nathan's argument, like at my grandfather's work, they have like a fat cat that lays around all the time, consuming resources, and I went there pretty consistently as a kid to his work, but then I came back like 2 or 3 years later, went to the cat, it didn't fucking acknowledge me, it didn't even recognize me, it just stared at me blankly. I tried to pet it, who the fuck are you? What do you think you're doing to me? So some cats have bad memory, I guess.
Well, I mean,
but
I've
with
had,
dogs, I mean, if the apocalypse were to start right now, it depends on the breed. If you have a Chihuahua, it's generally going to be a noise box. But if you're going with a dog, like my dog personally was bred for protection. My dog can literally, it chases down bears sometimes. And
Are you the fucking Kodiak up there, Nathan?
Fucking Alaskans be like, hey, my
But the
dog's
thing is, you
chipping
can
while
breed
playing.
dogs for different purposes. You could have, if you have a pit bull or a Malamute, those animals will protect you. They are fiercely loyal, and they can be aggressive. They can kill somebody very quickly. And so you could have a dog that'll protect you, and it'll recognize you, and it'll care about you as long as, what's the biggest drawback? It's even easier to clean up after dogs. Cats, you have to get boxes for them. You have to spend, 10 minutes just cleaning that shit up, and they look so smug about it. They're just little assholes. That's all they do. They lay around, they eat, they shit, and they sleep more.
So I have a strong opinion about cats versus dogs, and usually I consider myself a man of reason, a Renaissance man, if you will.
Even if you're wrong.
And typically I'd be on the side of dogs, statistically, factually, they're better. However, cats are better, and here's why, right? So dogs, they're very energetic, they're big. Even if you train them to be quiet
But
and
it depends
not
on the breed,
bother
it depends
you.
on-
Dogs I've interacted with many breeds of dogs, and they all are energetic to a certain extent. I'm a very lazy human being at times. I just want to not be disturbed. A dog knows how to respect that to a certain extent, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes they'll hop in bed, lick your face, And if I'm trying to just be not conscious fully, that dog not really the best situation. You also have to walk dogs. That's a lot of work.
Cats
and
are
cats-
more independent than dogs.
Yeah,
whereas
I
dogs are
enjoy
way
my
more
animal being. I don't want to I don't want my
type.
animal to be a fur baby. I don't want to raise it every sentient moment of my life. And cats, you actually don't need to have them have a litter box. You can actually train cats to use toilets. You can't really train a dog to use a toilet. So
Dogs generally have higher intelligences than cat. Well,
a dog, unless it's a very small dog, it's gonna have difficulty mounting a porcelain bowl. I'm just gonna say that. So you can train cats to use toilets, or at least specific breeds of cats. And regarding the apocalypse, right? Cats, they fucking breed like rabbits, dude. They produce radically.
are insinuating on what I think you insinuate.
Yes, I let me get to it. So, in the apocalypse, resources are important. Cats, they can go out and hunt. So you have your cats, you let them come out and hunt. You breed them together, and you have a source of protein now.
We're going in very dangerous
is
territory.
autonomous. And in the apocalypse, cats are better because they reproduce faster, and they got some lean meat on them.
Let's not
Okay, but
pull
Vincent, you
that
can
one
accomplish the
planet
same
from your
thing,
D&D campaign.
in a
Let's
better-
not do that.
But here, Vincent, instead of cats, use rabbits, or an animal that breeds much faster, and you can
But
generally
they're smaller and they're
a
more
little
likely
smaller,
to
but
die.
they breed faster, and you can keep them. They
Yeah, but,
need
yeah, but
relatively
the
little.
point I was saying about cats is they go out and they hunt for themselves.
But here's the thing:
so you don't
in
have
the
to-
apocalypse, you're also thinking of the humanity levels. We already eat rats and rabbits, and put them in just. Some people put them in awful conditions, and you could put them in a decent position and feed them, and you could keep, as long as you kept it up and you kept the inbreeding out. It's much easier to do than a cat. And you get more protein usually out of it. Even there's a little bit more on a cat.
Well,
but keep in
I
mind,
was just saying that for in a post-apocalyptic scenario, cats have their own utility,
Nathan,
which is eating.
please-
them.
I hate this topic enough as it is, so can we not tangent onto what's better post-apocalyptic and just stick with cats versus dogs?
Yeah. So another thing I am going to mention, which is kind of bad about cats, is a spread toxoplasmosis, I think it's called, which is a virus. 90% of cats are infected with it. It's not bad for most adults, but if you have a very weak immune system, it can cause cysts in the eye. It can be negative to your health. However, cats carry diseases, which is a cool thing. So let's say you're in a situation in which you're that dude over there, he really annoys me. And you take a swab off your cat, you now got toxoplasmosis, 90% chance, right? And you go into your little Dexter's laboratory, and you can now make biological weapons to wage war because you have a cat in your home. That's a lot of utility. Cats are very useful.
like fucking sociopathic.
Also, kittens. Have you ever fucking seen one of those things? Beautiful. Masterpieces.
Have you ever
you
seen a
seen-
puppy?
Kittens better objectively. They have fucking mittens, dude,
They're-
on their little
they're
Dogs
both
are better
very cute.
protection-wise. You can A dog will protect.
Cats get from their mittens. They get +2 to their AC. They're so cute, dude. You can't hit them. It's not even
You see
possible.
that pit bull in
Your
action? That's
turn,
like a
Jaden.
+6 in strength. The fucking jugular is gone in 3 seconds. You're just walking.
Your turn.
No. They have dexterity, and their teeth and
Yeah.
claws are.
The
The thing is,
versa-
I'm gonna
not
argue
versatile.
that cats are better because cats have little variety to them, breed-wise. Dogs
Yeah.
are better in different ways depending on the breed.
Cats are very
Each
cool.
breed is better at different things. You can't, as much as I know you'd love to, Nathan, you can't argue that dogs are better in every single way because, by, cats are mostly smarter than dogs on average because smart dog breeds exist and they're much smarter than cats, but they're only some breeds. That's just an unfortunate fact. You can.
Can I step in real quick? Okay, so I've worked with dogs because I worked at the Greyhound track by my house, and like those dogs are probably better at hunting any like small game than any cat. Right, but that's that specific breed of dog. If you go for a different like a bulldog, it's going to be better at much different things. Unlike a cat, which like Jen said, are pretty much relatively good at the exact same things. So you could have a slew of different dogs, and depending on which they are, they're going to be much better or much worse than a cat would. Like if I'm in a survival situation, I'm going to get a greyhound dog, like no question about it. But if I'm chilling at home, I want something lax for the most part, like me. So I would get a cat at this point.
Wait,
I'd probably have a
so
cat
you
and a dog, so
imply
I can have
that you would assemble
two.
the Avengers of dogs, all prepared to do different things. So you would have this perfect utility belt of canines at your ready.
Iron dog, bat dog.
Have you never seen Paw Patrol? Have you ever seen
Oh,
Paw
yeah.
Patrol, man?
So Jaden, what's your opinion about Paw Patrol?
Yeah, that's my problem, is that dogs are much more variable. You can't judge all dogs because of that, and that's why I don't like this topic.
Dogs for different tasks. Very.
Yeah, you'd have to
Yeah.
get multiple dogs for that. I don't want my dogs for tasks, is the thing. I want pets to have them as pets. I don't want to get an animal to do all the work for me. That's my idealism behind it.
Okay, so I guess we
that is
can
where
say
you-
there's different uses. If you're
That is-
talking
I
a
mean,
necessity-
use-wise, yes, dogs will always have more, because dogs are literally so varying.
say you lose your sight or your hearing, you can have a service dog to help you. You can't really have a service cat because the cat will die instantly.
There actually are service cats, I'll have you know.
Yeah, there are, Nathan.
Yes,
No.
but
Yeah, I get cats are kind of assholes, but they're like predictably
And
assholes.
let me
You
say
can-
something.
You can
In
account
the
for
society we live in, instead of your nonsensical, well, in the apocalypse scenarios that you guys keep bringing up, in the society, because we live in one, ha ha, I know, I hate myself for saying it,
H.
but we don't need dogs to do tasks for us. They've mostly been phased out of that use
Mhm.
by the large. Not in total, obviously. There's still plenty of people who go hunting with their dogs, power to them. But there's no need for that stuff. Like, I could have hunting dogs, I could have protection dogs, I could have ankle biters that make me want to kill myself. But I don't need to.
Which will always be like.
I don't need any of these creatures for any of these purposes. Same with cats. But while they have a less likelihood of serving a real purpose outside of pest control, the best part is they'll do that without any training. I have cats right now and a dog, and I love the dog to death. I wouldn't give up either of them for either of them. But like, I can say this much: as someone with clinical depression, when my dog comes up to me, it makes me feel pretty good. When my cat comes up to me, I feel chosen. Unironically. Unironically, I feel chosen.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So I get I get what you're saying. Like cats, they're good at specific things, less so than dogs, right? But the things they're good at are more useful for being a house pet, basically. Is what you're
That's kind of what I was trying to get with there. I wasn't really... That was just kind of like a point that I figured out along the way of me talking.
Anyway, I think we've spent long enough on this topic too.
Yeah, I hate this
so
topic.
let's
yeah.
should we take a poll of what we think is?
No. Yeah.
No, I
it's-
feel like
that's
it's
just
derogatory,
discussion.
and yeah.
It's not an
okay.
argument. It's a discussion.
Yeah.
So, for those who skip forward to this point, we discussed whether cats are better than dogs. Myself as an intellectual, and Jaden, also an intellectual, came to the side of cats. Other people, Tucker's kind of on the fence, I think.
That's acceptable.
But Nathan and Cameron, those guys over there, they like dogs, which is a bit weird. Didn't really support that argument, but I'm a bit biased anyways.
You're gonna make people
our
hate
next
me
topic,
so fast.
Sure.
next-
You know what?
our next
Vinny, I
topic
hate. Yeah.
is are video games an art form. So I want to lead into this with a little definition, right? Art, the expression or application of human creative skill and imagination, typically in a visual form, such as a painting or sculpture, which produces works to be appreciated primarily for their beauty or emotional power. So we can walk around that definition, so we kind of know what we're talking about. But I would like some opening thoughts from my lads here.
Yes.
Somewhat.
All right, Tucker. Okay, I'm gonna say that most video games are not art, but some are very good pieces of art. I would say that something like a fighting game, like Tekken or Super Smash Bros, not art, right? It's a game. It's meant for my enjoyment, but something along the lines of Skyrim, even though it is a game, it is still a beautiful piece of work. It's meant just as much for the gameplay as it is for the visuals. And I think that when you have a team that's focused just as much on the visuals as it is on the gameplay, that's kind of where I draw. Something that's visually stimulating to me, like Hollow Knight. I would probably consider that a piece of art, just because I like the visual aspect of it. Versus something like I said, like fighting games.
Right.
That's pretty much my stance.
For your stance, I would disagree in some aspects. For instance, I think Smash would be considered a piece of art because it was kind of genre defining as well, a genre defining console. Every game is built with creativity in some way, whether it's for a joke. Games like Genital Jousting. It's a joke game, but somebody did put the time into it and just said, let's have fun with it. They decided, this is a stupid concept, let's have fun. Not all art is measured the same. Yeah, it's not all good, but it's not all measured the same, but it's still counted as art. We might think of it as a lesser form, which can be subjective depending on what you look. Like Skyrim, I love Skyrim. I consider it art, but for different reasons. I don't think the combat's very revolutionary. I think the combat in Skyrim's kind of But I think the graphics are good. The storytelling is pretty decent. I think it's good. Hollow Knight, a game I love too. I think it's a very good game. It has decent fighting. It's simple, but it's encompassing. The game is
It's a good Metroidvania, which already makes it a piece of art in my book.
Yeah.
But then you can go to a
Honestly.
game like Gang Beasts. It's a different kind of game. It's not like Skyrim, which Skyrim was made
Is what
for.
you're saying, Nathan.
Yeah.
Anyone else? I have my opinions, but I have an epic plot twist in my opinions as well, so you guys can go before me if you want.
I personally agree with Nathan. I think all games are art, even if they're not quote-unquote meant to be art. Anything can mean something to someone, and because of the subjectivity of each individual person that is playing a game, any person can get inspiration from a game. It doesn't matter how stupid, it doesn't matter how dumb, it doesn't matter how little effort was put into it. If somebody looks at that and says, this can mean something to me, that makes it art. That's a dumb and loose definition of art, perhaps, but that's how I define it, and that's how I think of games. Games are possible.
Then I have a question for you. If you look at a hammer, right, and you think of like, I can do something with this, right?
Yes.
Is the hammer then
Because
art?
it's an inspiration. That's
Okay.
Okay,
That's
can
all I
I
was
now bring up a counter?
Okay.
I
Yes.
drastically disagree with Tucker, because I think art is only art if it is intended to be art. It's fine to draw inspiration from anything, but I disagree with Cameron's example, if you draw inspiration from a hammer, it is not art. It is your inspiration. If you draw back to the other topic, I draw inspiration from my pets. They're not art. They're living creatures. To call them art would imply some horrible macabre doctor scenario happened behind them. Unless it's created for the purpose of being art, I don't think it's art, and that's why I don't think all video games are art. Because some people make games with the art as their last intention they could have. And that's fine. I like video games whether they're artistic or not. I don't think Smash is artistic. It was made with a purpose, but I don't think it was made artistically. I think the people who design things in it now do things artistically, but I don't think the game as a whole was made for that reason. I love
Fair,
Smash,
when
but
a
it's not an
specific
art in my book.
game comes out that does seem to be have been made artistically, you do tend to quote unquote compliment it by saying it's art instead of just saying that's just more art. So in a way, I suppose you're probably right.
So
I don't know.
I have an opinion.
Yeah.
Very rare on this podcast so far, I think.
All right.
And right. So people, intellectuals within the artistic community, they look at video games. They see, it's interactive. You know, some of the stories kind of bad in a lot of them. Graphics could be better. Push it up to 4K. You know, 2K, not really my style. They're like, misogynistic. You know, focuses, microtransaction, breasts, you know, that kind of stuff. There's a lot of issues with it that make it more of a business, right? They're made to be consumer products, pushed out to get money and profit. Which, I mean, movies are to a certain extent, but games, they are a lot more like that. Because instead of being like something you consume in a 2-hour period, games last over 40, 50, 100 hours, you know? And they can be artificially inflated so that they, are bigger and more grand and attract more people to purchase them. And so they take on more of like a merchandise aspect, which, you know, makes them a little bit less artistic. However, this is my heel turn now. I think all video games are inherently art. Like, you could say, what about text adventures? Like, they're not visual at all. They don't really impress anybody. And sometimes the writing is bad. But I agree with Jaden. Something has to be made for the purpose of actually inspiring some sort of action, or some sort of thought or emotion. But I think art fundamentally is a communication of emotions and ideals between humans through some sort of creation that isn't just words. You know, I think a speech can be art, definitely, but it has to be have some sort of special characteristic that isn't just like me saying hello to somebody, right?
So you
Which
mean
invokes
that
somebody else to say hello.
to create
I think all video games, they're a covenant between a bunch of people who come together to make something that has visual, auditory components. It's a combination of so many genres of media creation into something that somebody can tangibly enjoy and play and experience emotions and ideas for hours upon hours through this medium, right? I think that's inherently impressive and artistic.
So you think that the very act of making a game requires somebody to be thinking about it in an artistic point of view,
Yeah,
at least
I
to
think
some extent?
There's an intent to communicate some sort of idea fundamentally, and like as I said, I think art is obviously the communication of creative ideas, and I think inherently making a video game means you're intending on communicating some sort of creative idea.
Even if that is just
Farts are funny, like even if it's
or
just
like
that.
or like you're just conveying enjoy this so that I get more money.
I
like,
still disagree.
Like
We can't all
A
agree.
question
Wait on me.
for Vincent. So in the same essence of, you know, like commercial products, I know that you did your 180, but the commercial products are made to be, you know, sold and they're not art. What do you think about jewelry then? You know, they're made to be sold, they're made to look pretty, but they're made to be, you know,
I think
worn
jewelry
and
is
used.
artistic as
Jewelry
well.
is
It-
definitely artistic. It's
Um,
made for the
yeah,
sole purpose
you
of
adorn
its...
you adorn it on your
Yeah.
body, but it is made to communicate some sort of creative idea.
Conspicuous
It's made to
consumption.
communicate beauty and tranquility. You know, you have this piece that is made by another human being. That's the product of human industry and ingenuity, and you're wearing it and showing it off to all the other humans. They can be like, "Oh yeah, a human did that. It looks cool. Wow, thank you." So it's an artistic piece that you wear on your body and you communicate to other people.
Hey Vincent, I have a question for you.
Okay.
And Jay, this kind of goes back to you too. So, if you could think some games are better than others, but what do you think on the modding scene of games? Because mods usually some games like Skyrim. Skyrim is good,
Mods aren't video games.
but mods are a part of video games.
It
Are these
Depends on the mod. I still disagree with Vincent for the most part and think that it has to be made with the intention of being art, not just the intention of sharing an idea of some sort, because I speak with the intention of sharing an idea. My words aren't art.
But
Some people would argue otherwise.
I would.
I agree with Jaden.
Well, yeah, my girlfriend would argue my words are art, but she's wrong.
I was saying it's not just the words; it's like the way they're orchestrated in an interesting.
I think
manner.
they just have to have the intention of being art to be art.
Yeah.
If they have the
Yeah,
intention
that's
of being
what it
art,
comes down to.
Do you think speeches are art?
I think a speech is inherent.
Yeah.
I don't think anything can be inherently artistic other than like drawings and paintings.
Well, I feel like even that is kind of skeptical because you can draw something
Yeah,
to
but
convey
the
a
thing
meaning
is,
that isn't artistic.
that's where the term art,
You know,
at least in
can-
my mind, that's where it derives from, is drawings of some
Well, what
sort.
about music?
Yeah.
Is
okay.
music
Good
art?
point.
Music,
I
okay,
personally
you
would
make a
say
good
so
point.
as well.
I feel like music is always inherently somewhat artistic.
I feel like it isn't.
Yeah, like
I mean, all music except for like meme music is always inherently artistic to me. Meme music, I don't mean like songs that are used in memes. I mean like songs that are written purely to be laughed at. I don't feel like that's art
telling
as
me
a whole.
All Star is not art.
I'm telling you that one song like "Moo, I'm a Cow," that's not art. That's sad.
What, do you think that like comedy is an art then?
It can be if it's done well, but because like my issue with that is that there are people who take comedy too abrasively and they think, oh, you're just scared to laugh at the harder topics, and it's not that no one's scared to laugh at harder topics half the time. I don't care about harder topics is the big deal. I could care less, or couldn't care less, I should say. Comedy is a very difficult topic in general because there are people, like I said, that they want to push their limits with it, see how far they can get, and then blame everyone else for being cowards if they don't find it funny alongside them. There are some people that are just like that because they suck.
Every video game is a form of art, whether it's to inspire.
You already said this.
I know, it's just a general laugh. I'm just summarizing it up, or I think all of them. I don't think they're all
Oh,
good.
I hear you something. No, I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. You know I am. I love you, baby.
Come on. I don't think all games are good. There's some games I think are just generally bad, but I still think it's an art because it still took somebody time to create it.
Some art is
Yeah,
bad.
I agree. I think like the combination of so many interesting factors to make something that you can consume with your eyeballs, your haptic feedback in your gamer controller, the headrest massage chair on your gamer chair, all these different components make this interesting experience that's immensely immersive, or maybe not, probably not if you're playing like Newsgrounds games or whatever. But you know what I'm saying, like it is something unique, entirely unique to video games. All those different levels of experience you can have, interactivity.
I
and stuff.
disagree purely because even when I said earlier that I think all like drawings and paintings are art, I feel like there's still exceptions to that because it all depends on the intention behind the creator, not just the effort put into it. I saw my sister literally spend hours drawing something, and when she turns it to me, it is a meme-looking, hyper-realistic egg with a human face and long legs. And I asked, is that your idea of art? And her exact words were, God, no. Like, I'm not joking. That was her response.
Yeah, like for me, like if you think of languages can have pictures be their words, right? And is hieroglyphs art? In my opinion, no. Even though it is drawing explicitly, it's not art. And I think for me it has to have the requirement of someone going, I am putting this out here to look beautiful, or look. Even if it even meme songs, I think are still art because someone went out there and went like, I'm doing this for this purpose, for somebody to laugh at, for somebody to smile at, instead of just somebody to. It's not informational, I guess, right? I don't think that my leapfrog games that I played when I was 3 are art.
Well, I think they
you're
are.
allowed to be
It's
wrong.
I mean,
You
I
would dare
think
to
it's
file
just
the
like,
name of Leapfrog in my
glorified-
presence?
I think it's just glorified school, really.
Glorified
So-
Smash.
Just like Brawl.
That's a glorified.
Kermit
Yeah.
the Frog for Smash. Confirm.
But that's my opinion. I think that you have to have a specific, set of
Skills that make me
fudge.
very scary for a man like you.
A specific set of things that you're looking for, your outcomes that you want out of your.
I
product
still
for it to
like.
work.
I kind of agree with you there. Where I just say that art is dependent on the creator. If the creator thinks it's art, it's art. Even that sad
Yeah.
song that I said earlier, outright isn't art. If the creator thinks it is, it is. That's just hands down how it's
it's like postmodernism art. For me, it's not art. For them, it's like, yes, this trash can. It's art. It's
I
art,
mean,
man.
it's
I don't know
art
what you're
if
talking
the creator intends it to be art. In almost every scenario, except for like people that are literally going to take my words and spin them around intentionally. And I mean that only in
Yeah,
the sense
viewers.
of like, I swear there's going to be someone who hears me and is just like, oh yeah? I'm going to go build an AC unit and say it's art, but I'm not going to make it any different than any other AC
It
unit.
has to be the genuine intention to create art.
It has to be genuine intention to be art. I feel like that's art.
You think some games are art,
No,
not
only-
Well, not all games are genuinely
I
intended
think
to be
we've
art.
reached the
Nathan is
natural
gonna,
conclusion
That's why.
of this arc of the anime.
Only Nathan is going to
Yeah.
agree with
Which is
what
that I'm right.
or like know what I'm talking about. But with the whole the artist defines whether it's art thing, Jin from a specific video game that I know that Nathan and I have both played comes to mind as a shining
name the
example
video
of that. No, League of
Persona?
Legends. Jin is basically
Oh, Jay.
a serial killer who thinks his kills and all of the way that he does it, he sees it as an art form, and I'm pretty sure not very many people agree.
I mean,
But
I would agree. But
By your definition, that would still be art.
I would agree. Actually, yeah.
I mean, it kind of is, but that's because it's fiction.
art
as
is
well.
not inherently
a
good.
real life killer going out and saying my
Yeah, but
murders
like-
are art.
like-
That's
is
different.
what I mean.
obviously.
Well, yeah, like Tucker.
Yeah, it's not about the fact that it's true belief in that scenario. That's different than creating. That's not creating. Creating death is not a
Okay,
creation.
I do remember,
he
like,
does in fact
like-
make like compositions and like he makes sure everything looks quote unquote perfect.
Well, what
or
he
whatever.
creates with the
It's like-
remains is art. Yes, but it's not okay.
Yeah, so it's like lowly hentai, right? It's pretty bad. It's like pretty horrible, right? But that's still art, unfortunately.
Wait, what
right?
is?
Right?
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Lolies, like porn. Yeah, that's
Oh,
still
God.
art, right? So even something that's horrible, even if the author probably thinks it's cool. It's like, dude, look at this kid. Wow. And so it's about the author's intention, how the audience perceives it. I think it's like it's not just about the author. I think it's about like whether I think it's like this synchronicity of the audience and the author coming together to form this unique experience.
That was what I was thinking, is that it requires both an artist and somebody to interpret it.
Yeah, it's like if
Elsewise, it doesn't-
if a painting is drawn
Yeah, that's
in
a good
woods
point,
and
yeah.
nobody sees it, is it
It's
even
not
a
art
painting?
anymore.
It's art.
Yeah.
It is art.
I disagree. Now, my
the
opinion
the
has
audience
now
at that point is
changed.
the artist.
Well, no, he's a blind man. He can't see.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what he made.
Then he's still an artist. He still created something. Is the thing. It is a creation. Murdering someone is not a creation. Using
Mutilating
their
their
corpse.
blood and their body. Well, the thing is, you could do the same thing with fake body
Yeah, you could,
parts. That would be art. It's horribly morbid and wrong to do it with a real person you've killed, but it's still technically art. Doesn't make it good just
Yeah.
because it's art. That's the connotation of the word. But it's, still art.
All
I
right.
agree.
Okay.
I think that's a good place to
So,
end things
for
off.
all those who have come to the ending, I am very confused. Why didn't you just listen to the podcast? But, each their own. There's going to be a link to SoundCloud for an MP3, or if you're not a fucking troglodyte mumble rapper, you can go to the Google Drive, download the MP4, or the MP3, whichever suits your preference. Oh yeah, probably should summarize video games art for whoever skipped forward. Basically, we kinda agreed. We just had some minor caveats on what it means for something to be art. Pretty close though, altogether. Yeah. See you next time. you guys can say goodbye as well if you want, with your sweet voices.
Bye.
Sayonara.
You filthy pieces of trash.
See ya. Yeah, you suckers.
Hello there. I compiled a little song out of the outtakes from this recording. That's gonna go after this, and you're welcome. Assalamu alaikum. I certain guest book comes to mind.
I sound like Reza real hard.
So to the viewers that aren't going to hear this, I love you. So to the viewers that aren't going to hear this, I love you.
I only disagree. Yeah, he does.
Certain guest book